All right, so thank you for joining me again on My Inner Tech. And as I told you guys on the last episode, that we would start talking more about the 5-step process to establish a solid inner technology that you can always count on no matter what you're going through in life, no matter if you are at the apex of your success or if you are at the bottom of a seemingly downturn, whether you cause it or not in your life. There are fundamental truths and principles that you can go to and tools you can use in your inner technology, inner development, in your inner person, that if you stay true to them, no matter, again, if you're at the top of the mountain or if you're at the bottom, you still understand you can go to these tools, these principles, these techniques to help you make sure you sustain the excellence that you have obtained. Or if you're at that perceived failure point or struggle point, again, how to not only climb out of that in a reasonable amount of time, relative, right? Time is relative, but also to get to your destination and then again, get back to that apex of success and then sustain that level. Again, relative to, we understand even at the top of the mountain, there's still going to be times when wind's going to blow and knock you back a few steps down, and you have to make sure you are resilient enough and strong enough and know what steps you took to get back to that apex of the mountaintop. You have to know how to do that. So this is what these 5 steps are going to help you with. So today we're going to talk about a little more in depth step number 1 that I talked to you guys about, which is getting your rest. And I know that's broad. So as I talk over these next, through 20, 30 minutes, and then if you want to go deeper, I will be, having a Patreon for you guys to be able to subscribe to go deeper and get even more in-depth tutelage on proper steps, books, how I go about things even more strategically in my life that allows me to currently talking to you right now from Bali, Indonesia, as I'm staying here for a little while, as I'm building some things out, and still trying to again grow and build a business back home and take care of family back home in the States. So, but these are the tools that I use on a daily basis, no matter if it's long flights, no matter if it's short flights, but still timing thrown off because I have to work, 10 hours or 14 hours difference back in the States. Still, I go back to these fundamental truths on a daily basis, starting with these 5 steps, implementing this first one, most importantly, the rest part, because again, if we don't get rest, our brain cannot operate at its proper level. Our body can't operate at its proper level. We cannot achieve the desired outcomes that we are striving for. The betterment of oneself if we're not clear of mind, body, spirit. And the only way to do that is to allow for the body to have its resting time, hence why we have to sleep in order for it to repair itself. So when I talk about rest, right, and you hear me say this again, like I said, in the broad term, getting rest. I'll start with the primary thing of getting your rest at night and getting good, deep REM sleep. This is the most important thing. Now, again, you're new to me, and if you've been with me for a little bit here, my followers, again, I run a staffing firm out of the United States. It's a very small staffing firm, but it's called King Ross, the parent company to My Inner Tech. And again, with that company, my job is to staff IT professionals into companies, project managers into companies. And we currently work with American Express as well as Vantage Data Centers in the United States. Now, with that, we staff project managers, we staff data scientists, dark data, machine learning, full stack, front end engineers, all that type of technology professionals into companies. With that, I have managed a team who does my resourcing and recruiting outsourcing. I manage a team who does the finances and make sure his invoices are done properly. I manage a team that deals with the healthcare benefits and all of that. I deal with the team that deals with H-1B visas and making sure the process goes in. So I have a small group that I work with back in the States. And as I travel, trying to expand and see what markets we can get into, what areas, whether it be in Europe, Middle East, whether it be, here in Southeast Asia that we can get into. I still have to maintain that business, right? And maintain the connections, the make sure who, people who are liaisons who are in charge of, our personnel on site. We want to make sure I have to stay in contact with them to make sure they're staying in contact with the employees on location, as well as, again, just living day to day life, right? And making sure you're taking care of family and things like that back in the States. So being here in Southeast Asia, being here in Indonesia, now you're on a anywhere from a 11 to 14, sometimes 15-hour time difference, depending upon where you are in the States, right? Most of our business is from Arizona to California to Texas. So again, now we're talking, Central Time to West Coast time. So there's a difference. Saying all that to say, I'm speaking to you not out of turn, not out of practice of what I'm saying, that it's imperative that you get your proverbial sleep at night of 8 hours, or again, depending upon your age range. If you're younger, yeah, you might be able to get away with say 6 or 7, but ideally you want the 8 hours. If you're a little bit older, I'm about to be 44, another week and a half. Um, you might need that 8.5, 9 hour window, depending upon, how long a day you had previous, right? But that being said, you still need to get that rest. It becomes difficult if you're working in different time zones. A lot of people working remote, i.e., I am, right? No matter how you're working, if you're working remote, you might be on again that you might be in Europe, right? And it might be a 6 or 7 hour time difference. Or if you're in South America, it might be a 3 or 4 hour time difference, right? Or 2 or 3 hour time difference, depending upon where you are. Again, in the States, if you work on the East Coast or in the West Coast time or Central time, right? So it can fluctuate. I get that. And if that's the case, that means your daytime for general people, if you're working remote internationally, your daytime is, or your nighttime is daytime stateside, right? So it becomes a little difficult if you have to be up on the time frame for stateside. But regardless, there's a way to still structure to where, and you just have to figure that out, where you can still get your rest and maybe you cut back on the activities during the day wherever you might be. Like if I'm in Thailand, and I want to go to the beach, during the day, I may have to push that back in the evening, a little bit later, in order to go right before I go into my work, at night. So therefore, I can shut off the work, say at nighttime, my time in Asia or in Thailand. I might shut off the work time, say around 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe even say 3 o'clock in the morning, around Thailand time, and then make sure I go to sleep at 3 and then I wake up at say 11. But that's like my early time back in the States, right? To wake up, right? It's just, you have to play with it. But again, you have to structure your days to where sometimes you're going to have to cut back on the activities you want to do. Yeah, it sounds sexy. You're in Thailand or you're in where, you're in Europe, you're in Spain, whatever it might be, you're 5 hours difference, 6 hours difference. It might sound sexy. And it, to those who are stateside working 9 to 5 or, working remote domestically, because you're in a different country. But what you have to keep in mind is your structure of your schedule. And this is why we're talking about working on your inner technology, being what we talk, that's what we say, being compelled, being committed to your discipline of what you say you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Yes, even though I'm living in Thailand, it's not just because I can go to the beach that I just go and I'm there all day and then it becomes nighttime, daytime for work. And I'm so exhausted now, I can't make my phone calls. I can't check in. I can't send a proper email. I can't check on a new project I'm working on with the team that's up and running and working on over there, right? The new AI we're trying to install, and I'm learning the system because I don't know AI, right? I'm not a tech guy like that. But if I'm clear minded and I have my structure throughout the day and I'm committed to disciplining myself no matter where I might be, then I can follow through and get my rest in the evening. So that's long winded to say, be disciplined on getting your rest and have a non negotiable on the length of time that you need to sleep to get proper REM sleep for you to go into your deep sleep and allow yourself to, and I keep saying REM sleep because that's where the body gets a chance to really break down itself and repair, or excuse me, not break down, but repair itself and allow it to rebuild on the day you just had and get ready for the next day if, we're blessed with that, right? So often we try to drain the battery, all the way through and continuously because we got to go, 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 go and work, 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 work. The great thing I will say about stepping out of the domestic USA and working remotely abroad is you do get a chance to generally, depending upon where you are in the world, if you're in Southeast Asia, even say Middle East to a certain degree, uh, parts of Europe, the slower parts of Europe, maybe more like near the south, like near Malaga, that type of area, Marbella area, you get a chance to slow down, right? Thailand, obviously, Bali, obviously, and parts of Bali, you get a chance to slow down and just kind of understand how to live life and not live life to work, but live life and work at the same time. So that helps, right? Whereas in the States, the idea is again, work hard, take your responsibility, sleep, repeat, right? And so that living and decompressing can only happen during the rest points. And so that's why it's so imperative for you to get your sleep, especially if you're domestic. Again, like I just elaborated on, if you're abroad, you tend to get a chance to slow down a little bit, not feel that rat race feeling so much, but you still feel it if you still are working and making your primary dollars like I am back in the States, which is not a bad thing, but we have to talk about this in real terms, right? So if you're back in the States domestic, my schedule back in the States was unequivocally no wavering, no adjustment to it. It was in the bed by 9:30 at the latest. Sometimes in the bed by 8:30 p.m. TVs and lights and all that shut down. I'm gonna go into that step by step more in the paid part of it. How to really set your body up so your melatonin levels can rise in order to help put you to sleep properly naturally. So turning off lights and LED lights and all that stuff. But we'll get into all the depth of how to do that and structure that for yourself if it's foreign to you, how to do that in the paid section. But just in general talks right now, just to get you going, so you can start this first step and start understanding how to approach your rest properly. Um, Unequivocally in the States, when I was domestic and I was working in the States, again on East Coast time, but still having clients in their AZ and on the West Coast. In the bed by 8:30, 9:30 the latest. Up no later than 4:45, maybe 5 a.m. Okay. And I know that sounds crazy, the 4:45, 5 a.m. time. If you're not working third shift, that sounds crazy to most people. But the reason why I was so disciplined on that, and like I said, it's unequivocal. I don't care if I went out the night before and went out. When I say went out, meaning dinner at 6:37. So if I'm at work at 5:30 or 6, because at the time I was working 9 to 5 for a little bit to help subsidize some of the costs I needed to help build Kane Ross. And it was only for about an 18-month period I was doing that. But so I was working both to 9 to 5 as well as working Kane Ross. So, 9 to 5, meaning five, leaving the office at 5:30. And then I'm, in traffic for 40 minutes to get home. At 6:30, I'm at the crib. 6:30 to around 9 or 8:30, generally on a real busy day, I'm working on Kane Ross things. Like I said, the 8:30, 9 o'clock, shut it off. I don't care where I am with it. And I don't care where the project is, shut it off. You get to sleep because I know I needed my rest, get up, five, and then it goes into the other four principles that I talked about. And we're going to go into, again, making sure that rest period happened between that 9:30. So I'm getting to bed, let's just say 9:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30. Yeah, 4:30. So 7 hours. And if I did 7.5 hours of sleep. So I was getting good rest, right? So again, that's 7 to 8 hours of rest. And if I got to bed at 8, and we know I'm getting that 8 hours of sleep, so I'm getting up at 5, right? So again, getting good rest. So therefore, when I got up, now I do my gratitude, and I do for me. Remember, still deep still thought for me, and the modality is meditation, then getting into the workout. So that's one reason why it was so imperative to get up at 4:45 or 4:45 or 5 o'clock, because I would like to be in the gym no later really than 5:30, because where I live literally 2 miles by car to the gym. So in every place that I stay, and goes into the next strategy that I'll talk about when I get into the physical activity part. I'll talk about logistics of where you live, making sure again it's in proximity. If you're stateside and you got a good career, or you're making good money, or especially if you're single, all the build outs, all the new areas now in most major cities, live, work, play, eat areas where everything is right there. Most condos, most apartments are building out almost state of the art gym tech, so you can have a gym in your place. But let me digress a little bit. So I would get to the gym, work out early in the morning, right? And that way I'll be done and I'll be on the road. No late. I'll be early on the road around say 7:15. Had to be in the office by 8:30 on the dot. So I'm on the road by no later than 7:15, which was always at least a 40-minute drive. And if it was a little traffic jam because I left 15, 20 minutes early, I was always still on time, normally 10, 15 minutes before I need to even clock in. I'll be the first one in the parking lot, right? So that's what my routine was. But again, it all started from the rest that I got, but it also started from the night before, prepping myself to be able to get into bed and get my rest and shutting off. And so the biggest thing that I really want you guys to understand about this, number one, and getting your rest, especially nighttime sleep in order to get to deep REM sleep, is the prerequisite work of making sure you don't carry over work. None of some of you might say, well, I can't do it because I'm C-suite executive. I got a team of 5,000 people. I got two kids. I got a wife and two kids, or I got five kids at home. Whatever it might be, it's like I cannot shut off at that time. And I beg to differ with you on that because, again, we talk about, and you hear in life, and as we do this platform together and as we grow on this platform, you'll hear me say, you have to be the creator of your and designer of your life. This is why we talk about my inner tech. That's why we talk about it, my inner tech. I always go back to this phrase. I heard Cat Williams say years ago on his comic tour. He said, they call it self-esteem, motherfucker. I can't give it to you. It's called self-motherfucking esteem. It's called your life. It's called my life. It's called the life you design, my inner tech. If you want your life to be the way you want it to be, you have to design it. No matter if you did design it with a wife and three kids, if you did design it with this particular career you're in right now that's bringing you 145K a year and you have a lot of responsibility, you design it that way. But now you also have to have take the responsibility and the demand and command of your own time in order to situate yourself where you're not getting pressed to be stressed, but you're getting pressed to take care of you the best way, putting your mask on first so you can do everything else. So it starts with the pre-work the night before. Again, making sure one thing, and again, we'll go more in depth with the actual tools of what you do with the lights off, what you do with setting your phone in different parts of the room, why you set it on silent, not disturb mode, which we know to do, but sometimes we just don't do because, like, well, I got to send out this last email because the team is late and the deadline is tomorrow. Well, a lot of times the deadline is the deadline, but you can still get it in, how you need to get it in. And if you're working like you're supposed to, and if you are in charge like you're supposed to be in charge of you, and you're leading like you need to lead, the team should have everything in place. And I'm not talking about the one-off times where yes, things do get off course. The whole point is, out of 10 days, we're expecting for us to have the inner technology and the commitment and the consistency and the compelling reason to stay committed to our 8 out of 10 days, 9 out of 10 days being disciplined on, I'm getting my rest. I'm going to bed. I'm shutting down at this time so I can get up at this time in order for me to be able to do, the other 4 steps I need to take in order for my days, weeks, months, years to continue to run optimally so I can be at peace, not happiness, but be at peace with anything that I'm doing, whether it's going well or whether it's going so-so, or even if it's going seemingly fucked up at that particular moment in time. Okay. Which all those things happen, but it's how you position yourself to be able to maintain a certain stoicism through these things and going back to a solidified habit and tool that will allow you to, like I've always said, and like you'll always hear me repeatedly say, have the calm within the storm that you need, right? Whether you cause a storm, most time we don't, right? But even sometimes we do. But no matter how the storm got started, you need that calm within it to make sure, but you need things to go back to, because in that storm, if you're in the sea, you need a strong ship to feel comfortable. I can ride this out, right? So batten down the hatches, do the steps, right? All the things you know. And then once you do that, you just sit tight and you let the thing do what it does. You don't force it because you can't, right? Well, this is you batten down the hatches by getting the rest, by making sure you have an unequivocal, non-negotiable time in which you go to sleep at night, especially if you're a career person. You can control that schedule. Don't let the demands of the business or the career dictate to you. You have to dictate to it in order for it to work for you. If you don't, then you're going to keep getting what you're getting, right? And what's the definition of insanity but doing the same thing over and over and expecting what? Different result, right? So if you want it to change, you have to be that change agent. And it's not necessarily, I said it in the last video. It's not necessarily going to be easy. It's going to be difficult, but it can be easy. If you do what's hard, your life will be easy. You do what's easy, your life will be hard, right? So something's going to be hard either way, right? And I love the saying and I love the phrase. You probably heard it. You probably said it to your own kids or to yourself or to your partner. You got to choose your hard. It's hard going to the gym. It's hard cutting off that time at 8:30 at night, knowing you still got an Excel sheet you got to get together. It's a deadline. It's hard to say no to that. But the other thing is hard too, where if you push through that and stay up for those 3 or 4 hours, knowing you're dead tired, you're exhausted, knowing you haven't been eating well, knowing you haven't been taking care of your exercise, knowing that you're fully stressed out with your relationship and your kids because you're stressed out about deadlines for school for them, money you got to owe, or your relationship with your partner because she's mad at you because she's on that time of the month and she didn't understand what you were saying, or he's on his man time of the month and he got mad because he's stressed about things. You two were at odds, haven't made love in a few weeks, maybe a month or two. All these things start to compound themselves, right? So it's hard either way, but choose the hard that will allow you to be able to regain a foothold on the next thing you need to do for yourself so you can plant to keep going up the mountaintop instead of planting in sand and keep sliding back, planting in, and sink quicksand and sliding back and even sinking. That's not the goal. So plan your hard, right? You could say it's hard to look great, but at the same token, it's very hard to be overweight. Can't find the clothes you want. Your confidence level is shot. Somewhere your confidence level, even if you're a heavy set person who's confident in your weight, you're still going to have some insecurity at some point, whether you're in their lovemaking session. And it's like, so it's hard regardless, right? So you might as well choose, okay, I'd rather try to be fit. I'd rather try to look good and put my effort into not so much. And it's not about the look, right? It's about the effort that's being put in. If I got to go to the gym and work on, my stretching because my flexibility and my sciatica is kicking in, right? It's hard to add 10 minutes to the stretch, but it's also hard not to, because when you're sitting down in that chair at the computer for 2 or 3 hours and that sciatica kicks in within the first 15 minutes and you got to still sit and every position hurts, right? You kind of put every pillow and cushion underneath your back, trying to sit up straight, right? It's still hard, guys and ladies. So it's still hard regardless. So choose your freaking hard. Quit allowing for the ease of saying, well, it's okay not to do it right now because it's just easier not to do it right now as opposed to just doing the thing. Like I'm telling you to be 100 with you guys. Like it's not necessarily easy. I'm sitting here in beautiful Bali, and and if you sign up for the Patreon, I'll show you guys the villa. I'll show you the locations that I hang out in. The place, the pool, and in the center of the building and all that stuff. Yeah, it's dope. I don't put it on social media because it's not about that for me. I'm living the life, and people who know me know I'm living the life, right? But and those who want to walk me on this journey. But it's hard to be able to get to this position at 43, 44, where I can travel like I do and not be over leveraged and be able to make the moves I make, but still trying to grow it so I don't get over leveraged, right? But the discipline to, take a 2.5, 3 hour flight from Thailand, come here at 1 o'clock in the morning, get a Grab Eat. So Grab is the Uber here that you use in Indonesia. Order Grab, get some food, go to sleep, say at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? I check emails because again, now I'm still on daytime in the States, check emails. So drift a little bit. So now I'm going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I want to get on, Bali time because it's an hour ahead of Thailand. I want to get on Bali time. So I try to sleep for about 5 or 6 hours, not any longer than that. So I get up at 9:30. So it's really about 5 hours or so. And then I go to the local gym, right? I go to a gym that's indoor outdoor, sign up for a day pass, get a workout. It wasn't a great workout, but just putting my body into the motion. It's not my normal lift, my normal heavy lift, right? But still getting in there for 40 minutes to get my body moving in some dynamic. More importantly, to stretch, because after the flight and the rest in a new bed, sleep in a new bed for 5 hours, body gets tight. I am 43, about to be 44, like I said. So I got to still stretch. So it's not easy to want to do that, especially you're in Bali. You got nice beaches, you got nice cafes. You want to just go post up and, I got a pool in the villa. I just want to go skinny dip, right? But I need to get on the routine so my body can get on the routine and get into a structure. but it started with me trying to get that rest, right? So it's hard, even if it was 5 or 6 hours, because I had to make it short so I can get on the Bali time frame, so I can shut down as opposed to sleeping until 1 or 2 o'clock, right, to get the 8 hours. But then now I'm gonna stay up, for the few days I'm here or whatever it is, up until say 2, 3 in the morning. And I'm end up sleeping, and eventually, as you guys know, it carries over to now you're sleeping the whole day away during the day, and you can't enjoy the warm weather and the sun and all that because you're sleeping, right? So again, it's hard to discipline oneself to go to the gym after flights and short rests and work out, and then stay doing the work at the same time. But again, if I don't do it, then my body will really be sore. Then the business suffers because I'm not making the phone calls that need to get made. I'm not checking on the people that need to get checked on. I'm not making sure things get cut, checks get cut. So the business suffers, right? So I rather do the other hard part so my life can be easy, right? And then also too trying to incorporate the content for you guys, right, to sit here and talk, and then to create another platform for you guys to get more in-depth information. That still takes time. Yeah, AI is great, chat gpt is great, yes, it consolidates things for you a little bit, but again, I'm old school in a sense now because I'm at that age now where I can say that, but I still have to make sure, and I'm not even old school, still wise, because ChatGPT is still going to give you just a general verbiage, but it can hallucinate and not give you the content that I really want you to get, right? The step by step process. So I got to check through those things and make sure when I'm delivering to you guys, when I do, as I'm putting together the steps, it's hard to go through it and put that time in, but I have to do that along with building another business and continue growing another business. So again, you choose your hard, right? You choose your hard because all of it's hard, but all of it can be just as easy as well, and the reality is the ease that we want as we matriculate through this life. The ease we're looking for is as we get older, because the physical energy to have that fortitude and that passion and that excitement to keep pressing forward starts to wane a little bit just naturally, right? No matter how fit, no matter how in shape one may be. Now, because I like to think of myself as uberly fit, right? My fatigue won't happen until, I mean, later. I like probably around the age of 95, 96. That'll be my fatigue time. I'm about, really about 105. Because as I told you in other episodes, my plan is to be off this planet at 150. But in order for all that to happen, though, I have to make sure I implement these 5 steps, starting with my rest, starting with doing the hard thing of making sure I sleep well, I get my rest. And even if I don't get the full hours, let me say this, guys. Like I didn't mention, when I come back from the gym the other day, um, after going to the gym, going to a cafe to eat after the gym, you're in the hot sun here in Bali. I came home and I came back to the villa and I laid down for about 40 minutes. Put my alarm on, set it for nap time for about 40 minutes. Because I will say napping is very important too to the body. And again, I'll go in depth as to how to break down your naps and make sure again, for your time frame or where you are and how to do it. It doesn't always need to be a 40-minute, 30 minutes. Sometimes I do a 10-minute nap. It's just that small, excuse me, and that actually invigorates me and gives me more energy to do more longer. Especially when I was back in the States and I was doing a 9 to 5, right? And for lunchtime, you have your little lunch break, which was unaccustomed to me because I'm used to taking my time to do what I want to do. But you got a 30-minute lunch break. On my 30 minutes, so my 20 minutes was spent eating because I had my containers of meal prep, which I'll talk about all that stuff later, as far as nutrition is concerned, along with the physical activity. Step number 4. But I would take 10-minute, power naps, right? 5, 10-minute power naps, to regain some energy, in the calf room or wherever it was, or maybe go to the car. But again, 10 minutes. That's all I got. I'm doing it, and I'm getting it in. And you'd be surprised how that does help. But it's imperative because again, I understand how important my rest is to my body, especially when you incorporate hard physical activity, of exercise, not just the basic stuff where you're just walking every now and then. I'm talking about when you'll know when I'll give you guys a breakdown. I'll show you guys how to do it for your lifestyle. And you guys know a little bit now with all the social out there and all the fitness gurus out there. You understand a little bit. But I'm talking about really hitting, the modality of any of them. Gym, you can hit hard, obviously. If you're a sprinter or a runner, if you're hitting that hard doing miles in the morning or double time in the evening, even or whatever it might be, small marathons. If you're doing Pilates, if you're doing reformer intensely, if you're doing, if you're doing a yoga class, hot yoga class, that's, with some form of resistance incorporated within it, that can be intense, right? So if you're doing intense physical activity for your body, as I hope you are doing, because that's the only way your body is going to have the aesthetic change you're looking for that we will talk about later on, then your body also needs to rest and recover. So that's why the rest at night, the 7 hour to 9 hour window of sleep is very, very important. And then, like I said, naps, intermittent naps throughout the day, even if they are as short as 10 minutes, especially if you have two 10-minute naps, that's 20 minutes. Your body gets a chance to just be still, slow down, and just get a chance to just take a breather, right? Um, and give you that extra little boost you need. All these points are very vital to your ability to stay functioning at a high level. Also, to work through the paradigms of stressful points and stressful moments. Because in the sleep, in the nap, you get a chance to just it's a form of meditation without meditating because your body gets a chance to go into its different realm, right? And that's why REM sleep, right? It gets a chance to allow for it to decompress and come back fresh and renewed in a sense. But if we're constantly going, even if it's just most of the time it's just busy just to be busy, then you're putting more pressure. Hence why we have high blood pressure. Hence why we have diabetes. Hence why we eat bad food. Hence why, for emotional purposes, to try to compensate, go for drinks, alcohol, all this other stuff, right? And it ends up compounding and showing itself in other ways that are not conducive to our ability to stay functioning at a very high level. So this is why I say the number one is getting your rest. I don't care what anybody else says in relation to your spirituality, your physical activity, your nutrition. All those things are very, very, that's why they're on the list of 5 steps. But just like anything else, you have to lay the brick by brick by brick on a solid foundation. If you lay it on sand, it doesn't matter how you stack the bricks, they're all going to fall down, right? If you lay it on weak foundation, you have to have a solid foundation. So the foundation principle that I need us in this modern age understanding is we have to get our rest. We have to cut out the white noise. We have to set the phones aside. We have to set social media aside. You have to get off the streaming sites, whether it be the subscription service, Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is you're on now. You have to get off of those at a certain time and allow your brain, your circadian rhythm, your melatonin and serotonin levels to level out like they need to in order to allow your body to get to that restful state, because this is the machine. When it's able to rest, it's able to rebuild itself quickly. And we are competing now even more aggressively now, because it's been around for years, AI, but now it's starting to get into a way where it can be a lot more competitive with us in relation to what we do for careers, right? What we leverage for knowledge and resources. So we need this computer, though, that is still the main one that's building these things to be able to work at its optimal. Only way for this to be recharged and work at its optimal is for this to be rested and feel like it can recharge properly to get back into your strengths, whatever your strengths are. All right. So this is why we created the platform My Inner Tech. This is why I'm here talking to you. The number one step I want you to talk about and focus on and work on starting tonight, starting today, starting after this, if you listen to this for the past 30 plus minutes, is your rest. Understanding getting your body physical sleep, physical rest is important. If you really want to know how the steps that I take and really want to know the steps, like I said, I will be creating a firewall for you to go into. It will be paid because that's where everything will be housed. That will be more detailed to give you the clear step by step approach as to what to do, and then how you can talk to me, and I can counsel you if you want to have a conversation about this one on one. How you can reach me and how we can talk. Again, that will be paid because my time is valuable. Just flat out. Again, I'm telling you, I'm doing what I got to do, and I'm already making my both. But if you want to learn, there's an investment. Just like I pay for mentors, just like I pay for it, and I pay money for a lot of mentors, for a lot of seminars, a lot of classes. Even when I pay more for the one-on-one tutelage that I had with guys out of Florida, guys that I've had out of California. But the money was well worth it because the advice, the guidance that they gave me for the months, some of them for a couple of years, has allowed me to be able to sit here now and not do it like everybody else is doing it, but do it my way. Like I said, and it's a beautiful thing. Again, if I were taken off this earth right now, I couldn't ask for a better life. I couldn't ask for better opportunity to be able to do the things and experience the things this world has in so many different varieties of ways. And we can talk about more of that again in the paid section. You can learn more about my life if you want to know, and I'll talk more about that later on. But for now, thank you for joining my inner tech. If you have any questions about the rest, like I said, message me, comment. If you want to like, subscribe, it's up to you. By you even being here and listening to me this long, that lets me know that there is some commonality here, and I thank you for that. I really do. I do want to build a community. I do want to know who you are. I do want to talk to you, no matter where you are in the world. Well, let's message, let's have conversation. Join the Patreon once I get you guys going on that, and I'll have the links down for you in a moment. Okay, but work on my inner tech, your inner tech. Let's get it together because this is the only thing that will allow us to sustain whatever's coming down the pike, good, bad, great, and different. We will be able to sustain a high level of deliverables to ourselves, which will allow us to ultimately live life we want to live. All right. Talk to you guys shortly.